As we reach the doldrums of the NHL offseason, news and rumors kind of dying down, as it is with pretty much every sport at this point, um, we'll look into some players in hockey who get a little bit less love, a little bit less appreciation, but the game wouldn't be as fun without them. That is, of course, our enforcers. We're looking at a few guys like Ryan Reeves, like our Tom Wilsons, the guys who aren't afraid to drop the gloves and get into it. The Hockey News recently put out a list about their top five fighters um, in the
Yeah.
league, given some
I think we should break
honorable
this
mentions as
down
well.
player by player as well.
Okay,
We should
so
break this down player by player.
I don't know
I
if you
want
want
to
to
do that.
start with.
That'll be fun.
I don't know if you want to start with the honorable mentions, Simon. Break
We
those down.
probably
We've got a
should.
few.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Tanner Ginot. I'm not sure if I said that name right. I don't know how to say his last name, to be fair. And then Matthew Oliver? Okay, these are names I'm not recognizing. Darnell Nurse. It could be Olivier, like Olivier. Like, could be like a
Olivier?
French last name, which is Olivier. That's what I was thinking. That's the one reason. Those are two last names that I'm not too sure on. I've only read those. So if I said those wrong, boohoo, cry me a river. But anyway, I don't think knowing who the number 5 big boy is, I don't think I have an issue with any of those. I think all of those guys would probably get their shit slapped by number 5, number 4, number 3, or number 2, or number 1. So I think that's pretty fair. I don't think that's a controversial. Any of those guys are controversial. They probably fall right outside of the top 10, or right outside of the top 5. Sorry. I don't know about you. I don't disagree with any of those.
The honorable mentions. Nurse is interesting. He does he gets in more fights than you'd think. I think that's the one that's like
Nurse.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting one.
Nurse can kill. Nurse can. Yeah, he can swing. But compared to the guy who's number 5.
Okay, I actually have an opinion on this.
I know who I'd be betting on.
I will disagree with you heavily, Simon, for number 5. I think.
Really?
I want to hear your opinion.
Just on okay, well we can move on. Number 5, Milan Lucic. He did not fight very much with the Flames.
Yes.
That is the one thing. He did not get in many fights. But I think part of that is the fear. Because I think a lot of people are very scared of Lucic, and they probably should be, because that dude could throw haymakers. When I first read the headline for this, before I'd even clicked on it, I thought Lucic would be higher. He does not fight as much as necessarily the guy named above him, but I think having him, he needs to be on this list. Even though he doesn't fight as much, he needs to be. He is a mainstay in the enforcers of the league, the power forwards of the league of the last decade. When you think of a guy who is terrifying, he is the boogeyman. He is the guy who you have nightmares about playing before. You think of Lucic. You think of a guy like Lucic. You think of a lot of names on here, but I think Lucic has to be on here. I think I know where you're going to take it and why you wanted me to open this with this, because I think I know where you're going to take it, so I'll let you talk about all that. But I definitely think that you cannot make the argument to me that Lucic does not deserve to be on this list.
I don't think he does. Okay, this is, again, my argument is basically what you brought up. The fact that he doesn't fight a lot with the Flames, but I think you have to put that in perspective in terms of just how little he fought. Because he is the Flames'
Did you pull up how many fights he was in?
Yes. He was only in 3 this entire last season. Let me name you some players with either the same or more amount of fights as Milan Lucic. Matthew Tkachuk got in the same amount of fights. TJ Oshie, same amount of fights.
I believe that.
Jujhar Khaira on the Oilers, same amount of fights. Erica Branson, same amount of fights. We're going up the list. We're going to players with more. JT Miller fought more, who we don't think is too much of a fighter. Nick Foligno fought more. Connor Mackey fought more.
The thing is,
it's like we're continuing to go up. We got Jacob Trouba fought more. Jamie Alexiak, Yanni Gord fought more. I'm getting up the list and I'm thinking.
Yeah, but okay. But out of all of those names, would you actually, if in a fight, would you pick any of those names to beat Lucic in a fight?
I wouldn't, but I just don't think. Okay.
Exactly.
No. I don't think you deserve a spot on this list if you never utilize that talent. In the Dome podcast has made this point. Part of the reason why Lucic is so disappointing because we can joke about it all you want, but like he's so disappointing, and part of the reason is he's never living up to that enforcer status. Like he's never actually dropping the gloves to protect the home plate.
But the
Like,
difference is we're not talking about the best enforcers. We're talking about the best fighters. So the guys who win fights. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm thinking of quality over quantity here. When Lucic fights, he kicks ass, and that's why he deserves to be on this list. People don't want to fight him. Like the biggest, like the funny thing is, like I feel like
fights, though I've seen him duck fights. Like, man, it's not just that everybody's scared of him. He's also, I feel like he's just scared that he's not what he used to be. Like, I don't know.
sure.
And a lot of these guys that he's fighting in this season,
I feel like
a lot of these guys he's fighting in the season are in this top 5. Like, it's other people picking fights with him too. Out of the three that he fought this year, 2 of them are in the top 5 of this list. It's like I don't know, man.
Well, that's the thing.
Like there, but he's not. I need to see more. I don't know.
Sure. But I just think, and trust me, I do agree with you. He should be fighting more. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm just making the argument I'm playing devil's advocate here a little bit. I totally just think like on the standard of just like best fighters of like if we're ranking this not on who fights the most, not who's we're talking about boogeymen. We're talking about guys that if I have to drop the gloves, I do not want to be across from that guy, no matter how much he fights, right? Because you got to think of like I'd put like back when Chara was in the league. Chara was in like next to no fights, and do you want to know why? Because he was 6'9". Nobody wanted to touch him. Like it's that type of thing where like I'm looking at it like that. I'm looking at it as guys who like you do not want to square off against, and I think Lucic perfectly fits that. I think giving him the 5, even just like as a ceremonial kind of thing, I feel like feels right because he can swing, he can take people's heads off. Like so I have no issue with it personally. Even though I agree with like everything you're saying, he should fight more. He should be more of an enforcer. He needs to be he needs to go back to doing what he used to truly fit it like well. But he still deserves to be here because obviously the players voted him there for a reason, right? Nobody wants to fight him, right? Like so I don't know. I have no issue with him at 5, but we should probably move on to 4 because I feel like we'll just sit here talking about Luch for like the next
I just want to bring up one more thing. Like, he's had a lot more seasons with the Bruins, obviously. But he fought 55 times with the Bruins and only 18 for his time in Calgary. That's where my issue is, and I know like you acknowledged the point, and I get where you're coming from too. Like, you wouldn't want to take him on in a fight. I just don't think it's fair to other people who are fighting more to put him ahead. Just because, like, he's fighting
quality over quantity
as about a league average rate. Yeah, but if you're not,
but it goes this Caleb. You're not gonna understand this reference at all. But I will bring it up anyway. It's the MMA argument of in the UFC, the guy who has the most wins is all of a sudden I'm blanking on his name, but he has never won a championship. I don't know if he's ever won beat a top 5 fighter. But he has just been a mainstay in the UFC because he'll win a fight, lose a fight, win a couple, lose. Like, he'll never win enough to make it to the top, but he'll constantly beat people. And he's been along for so long that he just has the record for the most wins. But is he a Hall of Famer? No. Probably not. Like, that is an argument that has been, like, a big conversation in MMA in the last couple of months since he had his last win and got the record. Is he a Hall of Famer just because he has the record for most wins? Or is the fact that it's quantity over quality a little bit harder to really make that argument? And I think I kind of am just bringing that like fighting logic into this where like I'm looking at it as quality over quantity. I keep saying that, but I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's important. I think that Lucic, I'm curious what his record is in fights. Do people keep record? Like how many... Did he lose any of the fights? Any of the 3 fights?
Okay, to be fair, I am no. So... I'm looking at a site
like that's what I mean.
This does go for you.
Yeah.
So in his 3 fights, they have again, take this with a grain of salt because it is a fan vote, but the fans will determine who wins the fight. His 3 fights. First one, Curtis McDermott. He had 97% of the vote. Matthew Olivier. He had 92% of the vote. And Ian Cole, he had 89% of the vote.
Yeah.
He is winning.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, there's a reason nobody wants to fight him because he wins. He wins. It's the same reason why he is what in MMA we call the gatekeeper. The guy who keeps everybody out of the top 5, isn't quite good enough to win the championship, but nobody beside the champion can beat him. That is what Lucic is. Nobody, and they don't fight a lot because the funny thing is, when you are given an option between fighting the gatekeeper or fighting a guy who is newer to the top 5 or maybe just whatever, what have you, you're not going to choose the gatekeeper. You're going to choose the easier fight, right? That's the way that I look at it. I look at Lucic deserves to be here for that reason. This is. I thought we'd be over the list in 10 minutes. I'm actually happy we're having an actual conversation about this. This is fun. But yeah, no, I think Luch deserves to be there because I'm curious what his overall record in his career. I feel like I'll look into that after the podcast because I'm just curious about it. But
I was looking pretty far down, and it was hard to find a loss. You get about 5 fights in until you get to his first loss against Curtis McDermott, who is in this top 5, one spot above him. If we
and
want to
who is number 4.
Yeah.
Like, I'll literally just read what it says here because I feel like this article will probably do a better service to him than I will. But entering his 3rd season with the Abs, McDermott is a veteran fighter who ranked as high as 3rd in balloting here. His dance card was more about quality over quantity. That's my big thing. With opponents such as Patrick Maroon and 2 tilts with Luch. That's the thing that's really important to me. I think, like I said, quality over quantity, as long as that's there, I'm good. I have no issue with it. I think that he deserves to be on this list. I think he deserves to be 4. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And again, like, this is where I can see your argument more. Like, Curtis McDermott feels right on this list. He does have the same amount of fights as Lucic. I think it's more of my Flames fan, like, frustration over the fact that Lucic wasn't as much of an enforcer.
No, trust me. I'm looking at it. To be fair, I think the only reason that me and you have differing opinions is because I come with the perspective of somebody who watches MMA and boxing, where like I can look at it more as just the fight instead of the outside what have you, right? Like I'm taking the hockey out of it. I'm looking at it as just fighting, right? Which I think kind of allows me to the perspective is a little bit easier to kind of see it, which is why it's easy for me to see Luch there because it's just like, yeah, it makes sense. Who would want to touch him? Like, and McDermott falls into the same thing. He kicks ass. He fights. He wins.
Yeah, he does do it more than Luch. Like 5 this season versus 3 for Luch. But yeah, like I do get your argument. For me, McDermott, like I think he's in the right place. Just as a Flames fan, this doesn't surprise me looking at teams fought against. The Flames are his 2nd most with 4. A couple of those are against Luch.
Yeah.
That's why, as a Flames fan, like when I see him in the lineup,
I think part of it for Luch as well, though, and I've kind of had this opinion for a while. I think Luch, it's not necessarily that he's scared. I think he just doesn't like to fight people that he thinks would be too easy. I think there's a little bit of that. Luch, I think he has a bit of an ego to him. You know what I mean? Like I think if he's looking across and a guy wants to fight him, and Luch is like, I will take you down in 2 fights, he's not dropping his gloves.
Right? Honestly,
I think that's part of it. Because, like, look at who he wants to fight. Look at who he's fought.
The stats back it up. Stats back it up. I was just going to say, it's McDermott. We're going to go through this list, and it's going to be people we've already said. McDermott, Olivier, who is an honorable mention, Ian Cole, Mark Barecki, who is also a fighter.
Could be up. Ian Cole could be up there.
Giovanni
Smith. He's also a guy.
Giovanni Smith shows up a lot on these lists. McDermott again. Delorier, who I think is in the top 5. Like, all of these guys, Delorier twice, Giovanni Smith again. The stats back you up.
Like, I think Luch picks his fights, and he's not picking easy fights.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the one thing. I think, to that point, that's why Luch deserves to be there. It's because it's, like I said, quality over quantity. I will keep hammering that, because I think that's so important when you're looking at something like fighting, especially in a sport like hockey. I am going to, if you are telling me about matching up 2 guys, because that's the way I'm looking at it. Like, I'm looking at it, honestly, the only reason that McDermott, like, because I could be wrong here, but I think last season Luch beat McDermott twice, right? So a little bit of that, makes.
It was 1-1. It was 1-1.
Was it? Oh, okay. Never mind.
It was, well.
Forget what I was even going to say. I'm okay with them being in 4. But, like, that's the only reason that part of me was like, I thought Luch won both. So a little bit of me was like, you can move Luch up there. But
no,
we should move on. We should go through these. I'll let you read the next guy's name.
Thanks, Simon. The Habs fans like to call this guy Wi-Fi because his name looks like a Wi-Fi password. Arbor Zekaj.
Yep.
So Arbor Zekaj.
I actually didn't know how to say his name.
I'm pretty sure that's right. New to the league.
Sounds right.
Again, I'm looking at these fight stats. It's a little bit more of, again, what you were saying with Luch picking his opponents. I'm not upset about it because, again, this is his first season. It makes sense why he wouldn't be fighting the top dogs, but he still does. I'm still seeing names like Zach Cassian, Olivier Delorier.
Yeah, I was about to say Cassian because I do remember that fight.
And like he's winning a lot of these. I have not clicked on any of these voting results where it seems like he's lost the fight yet. And he has the quantity too. He has 9. So 3 might seem high for a player in his first year. But he's putting up the stats to prove it. It's the kind of thing like until he's beaten. I haven't seen one yet. Oh, here's one. Delorier. Yeah. Delorier beat him up pretty good. But other than that, he has a pretty sterling.
And record. That's a good transition as well if we want to move into Delorier because he's number 2.
So. And Delorier is quantity. He's quantity.
Yeah, he's quantity. He's quantity, for sure.
Because he also is quality. Yeah, he's winning fights, but he's also driving them.
He's winning fights, but he's taking fights. Yeah, he's winning fights and taking fights. And where else would he be playing but Philly? Where else?
Street bullies.
Damn right. I think he definitely could be number 1 on this list if it wasn't for one person who is a very unsurprising number 1. But I think, quality. You mentioned that he has he's more quantity, which is definitely true. He had the most fights this season, but he also has quality. So, and he beat the number 3 guy.
He's still beating up on players who who like Tanner Janot.
So
Ryan Reeves versus Delorier fight. So not to spoil the number 1. But this will be an interesting. Yeah,
not to watch. Oh, big spoiler. Not to spoil Star Wars, but did you know that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father? I know. That and Ryan Reeves is number 1 on this list. Those are like the 2 biggest spoilers ever, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like it's interchangeable. 1 or 2. You can. I don't care. You can put 1 or 2. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But no. Ryan Reeves number 1 makes sense. Move on.
Yep. Watching this fight
One thing I did appreciate is that the fact that Tom Wilson is on here because I had a funny feeling when I first clicked it that Tom Wilson would be on here, but he loses fights, so I don't have an issue with that.
He's more of an instigator than he is a fighter.
Yeah.
This Ryan Reeves.
So it's the same reason why it's the same reason why I'm happy like Kachuk isn't on there. I didn't think Kachuk would be, but it's the same argument, right? Like there's a difference between a fighter and an instigator.
Yeah, I do think Kachuk is more of an instigator too.
This for sure.
If you guys are more interested in this subject, this Ryan Reeves Delorier fight, January 26, 2023, between the number 1 and number 2 on the list, very even. Ooh. Very even. Nobody gets taken down.
I'm sure.
Very back and forth.
The
voting results are pretty split. Reeves got 50%, Delorier got 10%, but also 40% of people thought it was a draw, which I think is fair.
No, I'm not shocked. Can I end this off by giving my favorite hockey fight ever, I think? Which is it's a very biased pick. I think
I know what you're going to say.
And the funny thing is it's against the Flames. It's in Iginla's last year. He was playing on the LA Kings, and he fought Englund. Derek Englund. Such a good fight. That is probably my favorite hockey fight ever, I think.
Yeah,
I think you could throw like a couple goalie fights in there just for the novelty, but I think the one that I'll occasionally when I'm bored, I've gone back and watched that fight. That's a good one. If you haven't watched that fight, I'm not even talking about the Flames bias. I'm saying the Flames bias is there because it's probably the only reason I've seen it. Because obviously it's between Derek Englund, who in his prime he was a pretty damn good fighter, and Iggy, who was in his prime a very good fighter back then. But obviously in his last season, he had hardly fought back then. Like at near the end of his career, he hardly fought. I think that was his last career fight.
it was indeed
I
his
could be
last.
wrong.
It
on that,
was
but I think it
indeed
was.
his last career fight. I can't.
I don't even know. I think it was a very even fight from what I remember. I need to go
I'm
back
watching
and
it right now. It is very even.
It is a hell of a fight.
It is very much.
It is a fun fight to watch.
Aginla, like it's crazy how much he's
It's
holding
vintage
his own.
Aginla.
He is.
Oh yeah, that's the crazy thing of it. It is vintage Aginla.
Aginla is just out staminaing him. So like yeah, I just finished watching that
Yeah,
fight.
pretty much.
England is trying to get punches in, but just because of how good
Yeah.
Aginla's position
Iggy
is.
was a hell of a fighter. Go watch. You know what? Another one. Go watch Iggy versus Jamie Benn. Yeah. Go watch that. That's another good one. Although Iggy kicks his ass, so that's maybe why I like it more. But you know.
Aginla, yeah.
That's another good one. But we can end it there. I just wanted to throw out those. I don't know if you have a favorite fight, but that's mine personally.
Oh, favorite
I think there's.
fight. Oh.
I think all mine would be Aginla fights, though. To be fair, though.
Oh, who is that guy?
That and
Who was that guy on the Flames in like 2015, 2016 who was an enforcer? Oh, freaking Brian McGrattan.
Furland.
Brian McGrattan. You
Brian.
remember Brian
Oh.
McGrattan?
Oh yeah, there's a couple good McGrattan ones. Yeah,
Yeah, that was
McGrattan was awesome.
that. I don't know if I have a fight, but I just remember being at a game where he like, I feel like he knocked someone out on the Oilers. Like that was a pretty
Oh, I'm sure.
good fight.
That and if we're just counting, I think one of the craziest experiences I've ever had watching a hockey game was watching the Canucks Flames line brawl whenever that happened. That was one of the craziest scenes I think I've ever seen
Yeah.
as a hockey fan because like there was so much. I don't know if you had the pleasure of watching that live, Caleb, but I can say that was one of the craziest things ever because it was all happening so quickly. Because like everybody was fighting on the ice. John Tortorella was like trying to jump into the Flames bench. Like it was nuts. That was an awesome. That's another thing. Anybody watching this, you have homework. Go watch the two Aginla fights, Aginla versus England and Aginla versus Ben. Go watch the Canucks Flames line brawl, although I feel like that's a more popular one. Although I know a lot of people have seen the Jamie Benn Aginla fight too. That's a common favorite fight, I think, even outside of Flames fans, because that's a really good one. But Derek Englund versus Aginla is my cult favorite pick that I feel like not a lot of people would have known about. So go watch that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Also,
yeah, we can end it there.
yeah. Also, rewatch the Battle of Alberta goalie fight because like that's such a chalky pick for
Very true.
for favorite, but
Yeah.
like it's there for a reason. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
watch it.
It's a good fight. Yeah, Mike Smith kicks his ass, but it's still good.
Yeah, but it's.
I
still-
mean, I think Cam Talbot knew what was going to happen when he skated up.
all respect to Cam Talbot for trying.
Oh yeah, no. I think everybody knew what was going to happen there. Mike Smith is kind of just that guy when it comes to goalie fights.
Has Mike Smith gotten in?
He's definitely.
Has he gotten in any other
What'd you
fights?
say?
Has he gotten in any other fights? He must have. Oh, guess okay. That's your, this is
previously in his career.
this is your question. How many fights? Oh, okay. That's kind of lame. How many fights do you think he's gotten in?
It's not many, but he's been in a couple.
Yeah, so he's been.
My guess would probably be like 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's been in. So if you count his whole career, including like AHL, then it's 4. He's had 2 in the NHL.
Yeah, okay. That's what I figured. Yeah, because with goalies, they just don't fight as much. But I know Mike Smith was, when it comes to goalie fights, he generally does pretty well for himself. So
The fact that
another one is Hextall and
Yes.
Vernon. He fought a couple times. He fought Brodeur.
Mm.
It's a good one.
bro, ooh, I did not know that. That might be part of my homework.
That's one that I owe. Those we could talk about like favorite hockey fights forever. I feel like I could probably just like name drop like a crap ton. Aginla and Le Cavalier. Yeah. Stanley Cup Finals 2004.
That was what I thought
Watch
you were
that
going
one.
to say.
That was a good
That's what
one,
I
too.
thought you were going to say when you said your favorite fight.
Yeah, that's what I figured you thought I was gonna say. Yeah, but no, my favorite one just for the and of course there is because Aginla's my favorite player of all time. I have a bobblehead of him, which is absolutely sick, and I love it. I'll even and show it. Or not a bobblehead. It's like I don't know what these things are called. What are they called? Funko Pop. I have an Ginlip Funko Pop. It's very cool. I'm showing up my I am an adult with action figures.
As we all should be.
I'm very proud of it. So, as we all should be, damn straight. Anyway, we can move on. I've been saying that for 5 minutes. We should do it.